love you telling the story of how horrified you were. This is not a law enforcement problem as much of a desire not to enforce the law. Because the problem with hacking comes down to it's about people. And most of the time, hacks occur because a credential was given away by a human being. The hacker really has free access into your system.
So one of the first introductions we had into the reality of this world that I think we were both somewhat unaware of, even though we know what we know and our backgrounds allow us to have a lot of insight into the world of technology and social media and the influence of it. But it was earlier last year in my first counter-trafficking operation with Veterans for Child Rescue, where we set up an operation to have adults pose as children on the internet in order to identify predators and ultimately arrest those who were trying to target children. So as a social media expert, my strategy, what I thought I was going to have to do was not only set up a profile and do a lot of work to make it look real and have friends and posts, I thought I was going to have to go comment on people's posts and live streams and friend requests in order to get noticed. But what happened instead absolutely disgusted me, and I remember sending you live updates. Because to walk the audience through this, first of all, we used an AI software to make my face look like a child, and it was alarming how accurate it looked. And for the audience to understand, I looked maybe 12 to 14 years old in these photos, just a vulnerable child sitting there like a
You
deer in
looked
the
innocent.
headlines, absolute innocence. And all that I did, and by the way, we were not using dark web apps. These were not even dating apps. These were apps from the App Store that any child can download and use to interact with their friends. And all I did was set up a profile with this baby-looking child's face, and within seconds, it was just pouring predators into my DMs, into my direct messages, without sending one friend request or posting anything at all. Somehow I got instantly noticed on these social media apps, and they were pouring in with all kinds of vulgar things that would be inappropriate for adults to say. But realize these ranged all the way from, hey, cutie, you're so cute, do you have a boyfriend? All the way up to the most advanced, violent pornographic things that would be inappropriate for a consensual adult relationship. So I was sending you these live updates, both as a friend and as a technologist, because I knew that this was not okay. This was not something that I'm going to allow my nephews and my niece to grow up in this world where predators have direct access to children, where they're being hunted. Children go on the internet to be informed and entertained and delighted, as they should. And we have full-grown adults that have direct access to children that are operating without limitation, seemingly without any consequence, and that are able to not only target these children, but send them all kinds of inappropriate images and videos and content that these tech platforms are very aware of, can absolutely identify. So the horrifying thing was how bad it was, how aggressive it was, and how many predators. So in the 2.5 days that I was pretending to be a child on the internet, I probably chatted with hundreds of predators. I saw hundreds of what we call inappropriate images or harmful content. And it was alarming to me not only to experience this as an adult who can handle this type of predation, but to realize that children are being inundated with this harmful content and they cannot unsee that type of influence.
No, they can't.
So it revved up something inside of me. It lit a whole new fire. I was already passionate about the fight to protect children, but seeing this digital space where children are being hunted and seeing how technology platforms are allowing this and sometimes even profiting off this, or more importantly, failing to implement safeguards to protect children. So I shared this information with you, and we even did a live discussion about it after the operation, because it was something I felt the world needs to see, and more importantly, we need to take action. So I just can't thank you enough for what you've dedicated yourself to doing in being an educator and helping people understand the risks as well as the solutions. Because again, we're not just here to make people mad or scared. We're here to help people help themselves and help children be safeguarded against this predation so that future generations have a chance to grow up with innocence and with safeguards.
I love you telling the story of how horrified you were from the perspective. There's nothing to love about this, but there is a moment, I think, in everyone's life where you see something and you go, I have two options. I can either walk away because this thing is so horrible, or I'm going to get my hands dirty and do something. I want to share with the audience something that I found last year was really insane. At a time when, with the kind of career that I've had, and I've been so fortunate, and I just want to give a shout out to everyone at ANC. Just thank you for allowing me to dream and for the things that we've done. But in my day job, I have always been fear facing because I do these large video board projects. And if the audience wants to look up what I do in my day job, please look up anc.com. Super proud of the body of work and the team that I work with. They're amazing. But I always felt I was fear facing till I got involved with you. And then I suddenly went, wow, I don't even know what the definition of fear is. Because the story starts for me about 2 weeks prior to you doing your sting operation. And this is where the story gets wild for the audience. So I'm bebopping along in my routine, and my routine is I do a tech little show on the radio every Wednesday on the Rude Awakening show out of Maryland. And on that show, I actually highlighted the fact that I had just seen a report that people had de-aged themselves, went on social media, that literally within 30 seconds, predators were on them. And the audience, Bulldog, who's the main host of the Rude Awakening show, could not believe what I was saying. I mean, literally was doubting that this could be accurate, that this kind of perversion could occur so fast. And so for me, I reported on it and then I filed it away. And I didn't really think about, well, what am I going to do to get involved with this at this point? I was reeling from last year from the solar wind hacks, from realizing that, you know, you can never predict, you can't predict any of your infrastructure beyond slow down a cyber criminal who really wants to gain access to your stuff. If they have enough willpower, they'll break through. One of the things I say, and I've said many times, is I'm given huge projects to protect. All I can do is not guarantee they will never be hacked, but do everything in my power to slow down a hack and make sure we cut the hack off after we discover it. Because the problem with hacking comes down to it's about people. And most of the time, hacks occur because a credential was given away by a human being. So the hacker really has free access into your system. They haven't scaled the wall or defeated your security. They've just entered your security domain through someone's password. When I was looking at cybersecurity, I was always looking at it from kind of a zeros and ones problem. If I solve the technology, make better firewall, create better security for the products that I put out into the world, I would solve the problem. But then you come along. And what I realized was what happened to those kids, the speed in which the predators come on to the kids was alarming. But there is something that I think is 10 times more alarming than anything you've suggested and anything that I've just talked about. Why? If I go online, just go to Facebook and talk about COVID, how fast will you see a little blurb underneath your post about COVID and about correcting the record? If you go on YouTube and you do a video that even suggests January 6th, instantaneously your video is demonetized, and in addition to that, it will have a little blurb underneath about January 6th. So how come? This is what alarmed me, everyone. This is what made me take Kim's story and really start to chew on it. This is what started making me go, wow, this is a solvable problem. Whoa, this is actually an intentional problem. Whoa, this is not a law enforcement problem as much of a desire not to enforce the law. For the audience, because I don't like ever working with conspiracies, because conspiracies are great, but a conspiracy usually means you cannot prove the fact that you're offering forward. So how come did Kim have men talking about their body parts, talking about her age? She had to confirm in order to make a bust the age of the predator and her age 3 times, I believe, if I got that right, Kim. You did all of that. And then they were able to take photographs of their body parts, show them to you, talk about body parts, etc. And the algorithms never capture them.